Pastor. How are you today?
Hey, Sister Lilium. How are you doing? I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm excited for this week. We have a great week program lined up for everyone.
You know, we're so glad to begin this program of building healthy families for 2021 and beyond. So, on behalf of Mission Hope Seventh-day Adventist Church, you're all welcome.
Yes, and this program is just such a relevant program for the time we're living. You don't want to miss not even one segment. Pastor, are you ready to get started?
Yes, most definitely.
Let's start with a word of prayer.
Yes, let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for this beautiful day that you give us. And now as we're about to begin, we ask your blessing on your name. Amen.
Amen.
So, Sister Lilium, what do we have next?
Oh, I'm so excited. Our first session is our exercise session.
Yes, actually, a very, very good friend of ours, Jeremy Brown, will be showing you a couple of healthy tips and how to exercise properly. So we'll go with you, Jeremy.
Hey guys, welcome back to another virtual workout. My name is Jeremy, and we're going to be going through some movements today. We're going to get that blood pumping. We're going to get those muscles warm, get them to exercise a little bit, push them a little bit, and we're going to be a little bit better after this workout, okay? You guys did the hardest part. You guys showed up. You're here. So let's get to it, okay? Alrighty. So we're going to start off with 2 sets of 5 squats, right? So all you need for the squats is a chair, a nice little sofa, anything that you can sit on, okay? So for the squat, we're going to keep our feet shoulder width apart, okay? And just think about sitting back, okay? Just think about sitting back. It's a very natural motion. It's something that we do every day, but I think it's something that we take for granted, all right? So you're just going to push back and sit down, okay? Get back up. Sit down and get back up. And that's how we do the squat. All right, so we're going to do 2 sets of 5 reps, okay? We're just going to get those legs moving, okay? We're going to get the muscles to work itself a little bit, all right? Ready? Let's do it, okay? 1. Good job. 2. 3. 4. And 5. You guys did a great job. All right, let's do a little bit of walking. Shake it out, shake it out. All right, good job, good job. We're moving. We're getting our heart beating, getting some cardiovascular exercise in. Making sure our body is moving and doing what it should be doing. All right, and let's get back to that second set, okay? This is the last set of squats, so let's make it count, okay? Feet shoulder width apart, and just think about sitting back, okay? You ready? All right, let's go. 1. 2. 3. 4. And 5. All right, good job, good job, good job. So now we're going to be moving on to the leg raise. We're just going to take a chair that's in your house, anything that you can use to hold on to for a little bit of balance. Okay, so it doesn't have to be a chair, but anything you can hold on for a little bit of balance. And we're just going to turn to the side, and this is going to help work out the back part of our legs, also known as the hamstrings, okay? Our squats helped a little bit of the front and our glutes, our back, but now this is going to help out those hamstrings, those muscles in the back of the leg, okay? So we're going to hold on to something, could be anything, for some balance. We're going to take one of our legs and we're just going to kick it up like so and back down. Move it up and down. And when you move it up, I want you to think about contracting and working out this back part of the leg, okay? We're going to do 2 sets of 5, okay? but it'll be 5 reps on each leg. All right, you guys ready? So 5 reps on each leg. We're gonna work one leg first, and then we'll do the other one. So 5 on one leg and 5 on the other, and that'll be our first set. You guys ready? All right, let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Good job. The next leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, and let's walk it out. Let's walk it out. You guys did a great job on that first set. Let's walk it out, walk it out. All right, and let's get to that second set, all right? This is the last set for today. Ready? Let's get to that left leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Good job. And let's do the next leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Congratulations, everybody. You're done with your routine for today. I hope this helped you pump up those muscles a little bit, get you a little bit energized and ready for the rest of your evening, your session, whatever that might be. Enjoy yourself, and I'll see you on the next one.
Our next session is natural remedies. What is that about, Pastor?
You know, natural remedies is something that you can try while you are waiting to see a doctor, while you are, in an emergency situation that you say, well, there's no pharmacy nearby, maybe I can try something. So, who do we have tonight with our natural remedy section?
Tonight we have Tamika. She is a lifestyle educator at the Cooper Wellness Center, and she's here to show us practical ways to do home remedies.
Hello everyone, my name is Tamika. Today I'm going to be sharing with you natural remedies to promote healing of the body. Today we're looking at hydrotherapy, and we're going to focus on steam therapy. There's 3 stages of water. You have solid, liquid, and gas. So the first stage we're going to do is gas. We're going to do steam therapy, and today I have with me Beatrice, who's going to be my co-host today. So for steam therapy, it helps, this is COVID time and this is flu season. A lot of people have a lot of colds, flus, and congestion. And this is one of the things that you can actually do to prevent that. And it's very simple and it's convenient. And it only takes about 15 to 30 minutes of your time. So what we have here is a steam therapy equipment, right? It's very simple. All you have to do is you put water in it and allows it to produce steam. And what Beatrice should do is actually place her face on the inside for 10 minutes, and it allows your mucus, everything to just drain, all right? Yeah. And to make it more interesting, you can actually add herbs to it, right? And you can also add oil. So today we dropped about 2 drops of eucalyptus oil. So it helps to relieve any congestion that you may have. So this is what we're going to do today. So here I have a tool that we use for steam therapy, right? So what you're going to do, you notice there are buttons here. So there are different levels that you can do the steam. You have level 1, level 2, and you have off, right? You can get this at Amazon or probably at one of your nearest beauty supply stores. So you simply just open here and you pour the water in it, or you can pour your herbs or the oils. Then you close it back. You can place that on top. Or you can do it without, you can do the treatment without the top part. And then you place it at the desired heat level that you want it. You can actually start at level 1. And then you place your face in the steam. for 10 minutes. Another benefits of this treatment, not only is it good for congestion, but also it can help with acne, removal of acne. So you can do this every other day if you're struggling with acne as well. If you're unable to find this equipment, you can simply use a pot at home. You can boil water in it, and after you boil the water, you simply just place the water in a container like this, and be very careful not to burn yourself. Alright, so you place all the water in this bowl. Then you may add some drops of eucalyptus oil or whatever herb you feel so obliged to add. And then you place your face over the container so that all the steam goes into your respiratory tract. And you take a towel and you cover, because you don't want to lose any of the steam. You can leave this on for about 10 minutes. Thank you for watching. For more information on natural remedies, please see us tomorrow at this seminar, same time.
Up next, we have our beloved section, The Doctor is in the Kitchen. Who do we have tonight, Sister Lillian?
We have our very own Dr. Cooper-Dockery. She loves to cook and teach her patients how food is medicine. Come and join us for some simple, healthy recipes that you are sure to enjoy.
The kitchen segment. Today I have a very, very important topic to discuss with you. And this is just healthy swap. I know many of you are thinking of changing lifestyle, but you don't know what to eat. What should I change in my diet so I can have healthy, nutritious diet? So we're going to start here with processed food. You notice I have sugar, white sugar. This is bad for your health. White flour, remove that totally from your diet, because this will increase your risk for diabetes, hypertension, many chronic diseases. What about oils? I get a lot of that question at my office. Now, oils, you should stay away from oils because they're processed. However, there's some healthy oils that you could probably use in your diet. Grapeseed oil could be used. Extra virgin olive oil as well. However, the best fats are from nuts. So you see I have several different types of nuts here. And if you're allergic to some type, choose the better nuts. Walnuts, any nuts, these are good for your health. Now, you might be asking, how do I sweeten my pastry? Now, it is good to use fruit, natural sweetener. You could use banana, you could use dates, apples, or whatever you have in season. However, if you need some extra sweetening, agave is natural and it has low glycemic index. So this should not affect your blood sugar that much. Now, many people believe that when you become a vegetarian, then there is nothing to eat as protein. So let's look at your choices for protein. All the lentils, legumes, peas and beans, these are high in protein, high also in complex carbohydrate, and as well as other minerals. You know, it is believed that legumes and beans are the poor man's protein. So eat lots of this and you will stay healthy. Also, seeds. This here pumpkin seed, this is also high in protein. Don't forget your chia seed, flax seed, also high in omega-3. Now, what about dips? Healthy dips. Rather than having cheese, you can have healthy dips. Hummus. Hummus is a bean dip made from chickpea. We also have avocado. Avocado is also high in good fats. And of course, if you want something very easy, you can find, mayonnaise, veggies, which substitute mayonnaise at the store. Now, grains. There are a lot of people talking about grains, when to eat grains, how to eat grains, what grains are healthy. Now, I have whole grains for you. Quinoa. Quinoa is high in fiber as well as high in protein. I have bulgur wheat. This is wonderful. This can be used to substitute rice or even as sweet cereal as well in the mornings. You have brown rice, black rice. These are healthy. And also pasta. You can have whole wheat pasta. This is healthy. Now, for the children, some children like a lot of sugar in their cereal. That is so unhealthy. Mothers, fathers, try to use oatmeal and use the rolled oats. There are several ways to prepare this. You can go to my website and find different recipes for oat recipes. Now, remember, it's very easy to swap out the unhealthy food and swap in the food that you can use as medicine. The number one risk factor for diabetes and chronic diseases, it's the food you eat. However, food can also be your medicine. So for more information on how to stay healthy and how to prepare healthy meals, go to my website, gethealthwithdrcooper.com or .tv or cooperwellnesscenter.com. I'll see you again next time, same place, same station.
Would you sing with us, please? Beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in good health. Beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in good health, that my ways may be known above the earth, my saving power among all nations. Beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in good health. You came to give the more abundant life. Our body is the temple of the Spirit of God. You came to give the more abundant life. Our body is the temple of the Spirit of God. He leads and guides us in temperate ways and gives us fullness and length of days. Beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in good health. For a good ambassador is my help, and my health must prosper as my soul prospers. Beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in good health. Beloved, I wish above all join us in singing that you may prosper and be in good health. Beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in good health, that my ways may be known upon the earth, my saving power among all nations. Beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in good health.
Pastor Mendes, why don't you tell us about tonight's speaker?
Actually, we have a wonderful speaker tonight, Dr. Zeno Charles-Marcel. He currently is the Assistant Director of the Seventh-day Adventist General Conference Health Ministries. He goes all around the world teaching people how to live healthy lifestyles. He also used to be the former Dean of Medicine in Montemorelos University. Today, he will be covering the topic of effects of food on the brain. So let us welcome Dr. Zeno Charles-Marcel.
Thank you very much. I feel welcome, and too bad we can't be there in person, but we will make the best of this. And let me see if I can share my screen. It's disabled right now, so can you please enable my screen to be shared? Can you please give me authority to share my screen? Okay, thank you very much. And let's see. I am going to assume that you're seeing everything as you should. Is that correct? If it's so, can somebody just shout out or give me a thumbs up?
Yes, we are.
Okay, very good. All right. Well, yes, the idea is that our minds are so important that we have to eat with our mind in mind, okay? We are, and you are beautiful, and you are fearfully and wonderfully made. That's what the psalmist says in Psalm 139, verse 14. And because like any special, well-designed, well-operating machine, if we will look at the body kind of like a machine, we have to handle it carefully. I mean, you don't take a very fine Rolex watch and treat it, in a haphazard kind of way. You don't take fine china and treat it in a bad way. You don't take an expensive car and just put bad gas in it, right? So in the same way, if we are fearfully and wonderfully made, and we are so special to God and of course to ourselves and our families, then we need to be able to handle things with care. And God didn't leave us to work this out alone. He gave us operations management, so we know not just how to take care of ourselves, but also how to take care of the environment, how to take care of our relationships with other people. And he gave us an operation manual, and that manual is, of course, the Bible. But like with any good father or any good parent would deal with children or would deal with someone who is going to be taking care of something, they need to give them a few instructions, right? And some of these instructions, one of the first instructions that God gave to Adam and Eve was what they should have for food. And in Genesis 1:29, we find, he says, "Behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the surface of all the earth, and every tree which has fruit yielding seed. It shall be food for you." In Genesis 1:30, he goes on, and even the animals, he tells what the animals are supposed to eat. And by the way, the animals were vegetarian, and the humans were also vegetarian, if you look at that. So God created these things for us to be able to eat and to be able to enjoy and to be able to treat this well-designed machine that we call a body, and also the other aspects of our human life to treat it well. Okay, okay, I'll have to make a change here. So this instruction manual that he gives us is the Bible, and he describes things in Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, how things were when everything was perfect. And the word that he used for perfect was, of course, very good. But later on, he introduced a concept, and that concept meant that everything was functioning the way it should have functioned. Everything was doing what it was supposed to do. Everything was working in harmony. This is before sin came into the world. And that term that he used was shalom. And you'll be hearing more about shalom as the week goes on, I'm sure. But this shalom is not just peace, as it's sometimes translated. It means well-being. It means completeness. It means prosperity. It means health. It means safety. It means harmony with God and with others. It means that things that were broken are now healed and complete once again. Now, the food that God intended was the stuff that he made. We have taken some of that stuff and made other things from it. Okay, now not everything that we make is not good. We just saw Dr. Cooper-Dockery demonstrating some foods that are healthy, even though she pointed out at the beginning that the sugar, the white sugar stuff, that was not something that was healthy, even though it's a natural product. I mean, you can get it from sugarcane. We also have this kind of stuff, you know, the brown drinks with sugar. These sodas and whatnot, these are not good for our health. And people have looked at this from different angles. For instance, there's some food trends currently looking at the content, the fat content, the sugar content, the protein content. looking at the ecology, that is, how sustainable is it to use one kind of diet versus another kind of diet? And then looking at the purity. Some things are, organically grown and other things are not organically grown and they may have pesticides and things like that. And we also look at patterns of the way people eat, whether they're vegetarian or plant-based or vegan or paleo or whatever. And, if you were to go to a bookstore, you'd find probably about 30 different kinds of dietary patterns that are existing today. And then, of course, there's cuisine. There's simple food, and then there's, the stuff that you expect to find if you go to a fine restaurant. And all of these are trends that we are experiencing because food is important. Food is what gives us the energy to do things. It gives us the way to repair damage that is done. Food is very important. And of course, the things that drive us to choose a particular kind of food, one of the major issues is our culture. What we're accustomed to eating is what we want to eat. Economics is another. What we can afford to eat is what we eat. And then there's some fads. What is popular to eat is what people want to eat. And then comes the idea, well, I should maybe eat this because it is healthy. And when surveys were done, this list was taken from a survey done by one of the major newspapers, nationwide newspapers. And health was not the number one. Health was number 4. But of course, you would expect that people who are involved in health to talk about health as number 1. But we have to understand that people choose things for other reasons besides just health. And we want you to know that we understand these things. But once you get the idea as to what health in the shalomic sense means, the well-being, the total well-being of body, mind, spirit, everything working the way it should, and you want to be free from pain and free from unnecessary suffering and to live a long, healthy, happy life, then it's worth it to look at what these things mean. We also have dietary beliefs that sometimes influence the way we choose. And of course, people look at their appearance. They want to eat a certain way so that by the time the spring comes and the summer comes, they can dress a particular way. And then, of course, people are fascinated and obsessed with their weight and weight loss. So these things are some of the drivers. Some of the health concerns about food, very high on the list is cancer. Diabetes is another, heart disease, which is the number 1 killer in the United States. Malnutrition is another issue around the world. This is a big issue. High blood pressure, this is a sleeper because there are many people with high blood pressure who don't know they have high blood pressure. And the only way you can know you have it is to check it. Same with diabetes, you have to check, okay? Obesity and of course toxicity from food, these are things that cause people to be concerned about what's happening in their life and what's happening in their diet. Okay. All right. So, we had some clues. Rats, whether they're from the West or they're from the East, once they're given a Western diet, that is given the kind of diet that we typically would eat here in the United States, given that diet, they found that these rats increased the amount of food that they were eating. So they ate more. Next, they decreased their memory. So they weren't as oriented as they were when they were not on that diet. This Western diet is one that's high in fat, high in sugar, or high in fat and sugar. And the part of the brain that was affected is a very special part called the hippocampus that affects our learning. And it also affected the gray and white matter volume in the brain so that the brains were actually smaller, okay, by having this Western diet. Now, that's rats. And you might say, well, we're not rats. But there are lots of things that we find in rats and mice and in rabbits and other animals that can be applied to human beings once we do the appropriate research. But here's the idea. If what we choose is something that we do with our minds, And if we choose food and everything else with our mind, if the choices that we make, the food that we're actually choosing and that we eat affects now the mind, then we're in a vicious spiral downward, because we might choose a bad food, and then that disturbs the mind, and then that leads us to choose bad food again or worse food. You see, so we have to decipher this and come to some kind of understanding as to whether this is true or not. And I will show you the evidence that we have. First of all, here's what the scientific conclusions are after investigation today. Food choices affect us at every stage of life, even before birth, even before birth. Food affects our behavior, it affects our decision-making, affects our mood, and food can be either toxic or it can be therapeutic. And from my point of view, this pleasurable thing that we do called eating several times a day, this is something, it should be therapeutic, not toxic, because if it's toxic and it's affecting our minds, then it's going to affect our decisions. Now, the mind has certain domains. The mind allows us to perceive, it allows us to think, to believe, it gives us memory. We have feelings, we can solve problems, we can learn, we can desire, we can plan, we can move, and we have motor coordination because our brain is doing this. And of course, we have attention, and we have different parts of the brain that are involved with all of these things. And all parts of the brain may not have the same susceptibility to what we eat, but we know that there's certain special parts of the brain that have a lot of susceptibility to what we eat. In this particular slide, we're looking at different parts of the brain, and I want to point out the area just in the middle where you see some of those dots, and you see the word amygdala and hippocampus. You know, this is the area that we have pleasure. And when we eat a good meal, right, a good tasty meal is what I'm saying, we get pleasure out of it, and that part of the brain actually lights up. So this is a very important thing. You'll hear more about this later on. And then we have different chemicals that are produced in the brain, and these chemicals in the brain then can change our mood or change the way we feel about how things are going. So this is important. The brain has a lot of water. So water is a very important nutrient for the brain, but it's also composed of fats and lipids. It's actually a high fat organ, including cholesterol, and also the fats called omega-3s and omega-6 fats. These things are incorporated in the brain during development in the fetus. That's while the child is still in the mother's womb, but also within the first few years of life, they're putting down cholesterol and omega-3 fats that will affect the way the child is going to be, the potential for learning and the potential for thinking, etc. later on. Then, of course, we have proteins and amino acids, and these are necessary for the neurotransmitters or the chemicals that give signals inside the brain. And then we have glucose, and that's what the brain uses for fuel. But the brain also can turn off the glucose and start using fat as fuel. And I don't know if anybody was going to talk about this. Maybe the person who will talk about diabetes would mention some of that. But we are able to change the fuel that the brain uses. And then, of course, we have trace minerals, and these trace minerals are very useful to decrease the toxicity of some of the other chemicals that we produce in the body called free radicals and reactive oxygen species. So each constituent in the brain has an impact on the development of the brain, on the mood that the person has, whether they sleep well or don't sleep well, the attention that they have, the energy that they have to be able to do things, and of course, the functioning of the brain. And we saw a whole list of those, the thinking, the memory, etc. But when we have junk food, this causes problems. So we need to look at junk food for a little while. Junk food, by definition, is highly processed food, disproportionate amount of fat and sugar, and a relative or absolute lack of micronutrients. That's the trace elements that are necessary for life. And it satisfies the caloric needs, and oftentimes in excess. It satisfies the taste centers, because usually it tastes pretty good. And it oftentimes satisfies the economic burden, because you can find fast food at relatively cheaply in fast food restaurants. That being said, these things drive people to want to use fast foods as a regular meal, and it's convenient, okay? But if it's going to affect our brains, this is a serious issue. So let's just focus on sweet and fatty processed foods and what it does to the brain. Here's what the research shows. It affects the brain size, it affects the emotional health, it affects the memory, it affects whether or not somebody is going to be prone to violence or not. It affects the decisions that we make. It even is programmed in the brain because of what we eat. It can program what is going to be happening later on. In the fetus, this goes on. What mom eats affects, and as you will see in a few seconds, even what dad eats before conception, before that baby is conceived, can affect what goes on in that baby as the baby grows and the baby becomes an adult. Okay? So in the fetal and prenatal period, that's before the baby is born, the things that we eat affects the development of the organs, and the brain requires a massive amount of these special fats called omega-3 fatty acids. And we can get these in nuts, avocados, seeds, and flax and chia. These are things that are high in omega-3 fats. So mother's diet affects the baby. And the research shows that if the mom is eating junk food 3 or more days a week, children end up with more anger, more anxiety, more sadness, more aggression, and more nightmares. This has been shown in studies in Australia, in the Netherlands, in Canada. They have seen the same kind of pattern, okay? But then there's also something about dad. If dad is eating poorly, he's eating fast foods, it's going to affect the quality of his sperm. And those sperm will affect not only his fertility, but also affect what is going to happen in that child. Caffeine and alcohol are not foods, but they're part of the things that people eat and ingest. And these things are specifically no-nos for men and women if they're thinking about having healthy children. So if the dad is not eating enough green leafy vegetables and getting enough folate, then this may affect in the same way that it affects in mice, okay? If the dad is eating in such a way that his diet is obesogenic, it's causing him to gain a lot of weight, then he will pass that on to his children. Not just that, he can pass it on, mom can pass it on, and the grandparents, how the grandparents ate and what they did can affect the child later on. Okay, so grandma and grandpa on both sides of the family can affect what can happen with the child when the child is 40 or 50 years of age, okay, grown up to be an adult. Now, you might say, so what help does that give to me? Well, it means that all of us have risk because we don't know what our grandparents were actually doing, what they were eating before we were conceived. We weren't there, right? So you would say, that gives us some risk. But here's the thing. Some of that risk is reducible. And the way we live is what can undo the risk that is passed on from parents and grandparents. And for those of us who are parents and grandparents, we now have advice that we can give to our kids and our grandkids to eat better, to do better, because we want them to thrive and not just survive, right? So are there possibilities for recommendations for mom and dad in terms of how they can do things to help the child that is going to be born later on? Yes, there's some things. I believe that we have enough evidence. The studies suggest that couples who are trying to conceive, it would be prudent for the father and the mother too, without having no tobacco, alcohol, or caffeine, and also not to eat a junk food diet, and to make sure that they're getting enough folate, and you can find that in green leafy vegetables in particular, and enough vitamin B12. And usually, if you're having a plant-based diet, you'll need to supplement your diet with either powder, spray, or some tablets for vitamin B12. And of course, don't overeat in general so that you don't have this tendency to obesity to pass that on to the children, okay? Junk foods, once more, are low in nutritional value, and they affect the nerve cells, and they cause deficiencies in the nerve cells. We see in mice that if the mice have nerve cell deficiencies in minerals, that they actually become more fearful and more anxious. If there's low omega-3 in the diet, they also have this anxiety and fear. And the omega-3s must come from the diet, so mom and dad and baby must have omega-3 from outside of themselves, okay? The children's diet, if the children are eating junk and processed foods and inadequate amounts of vegetables, fruits, nuts, greens, and unprocessed grains, then they end up with anger and aggression. They end up with sadness, anxiety, and nightmares, just like what we found if the mom has been eating poorly when the child was being carried, then the same thing passes on, okay? We even see in prisons, people are not just prisoners of their diet because, there's some people who say, I can't do without my so-and-so. I had one patient who said, I will never give up tuna fish sandwiches. By the way, he did, after his diabetes was well under control, he came to his senses and he said, yeah, if this is something that I need to do in order for me to be healthier, I will do it. And that was good. Anyway, but besides being prisoners to our diet, what has been looked at is what happens in prisons. And what has been shown is that in prisons, because the food quality in the prison is not very good, that the prisoners lack certain micronutrients in particular, and some of the minerals. And because of that, if you supplement the diet, that has been shown already, if you supplement the diet with these things, then the amount of violence and delinquency that occurs in the jails actually go down. So here are some of the things that, this is not for you to read, but just to tell you, B12 is one, B6 is another. These are vitamins, vitamin B1, thiamine, riboflavin. These were all found to be deficient in prisoners, okay? So now, if they found it to be deficient in prisoners, and the lifestyle of prisoners in prison is similar to the lifestyle that the prisoners had outside of prison, then you know that this is not a problem just of the prison. It's a problem of the way that the people were eating and the lifestyle that they lived in general that wasn't giving them enough nutrition to help them. Now, food affects your mood. I think most people know this, right? You have a good meal and you're really satisfied with the meal and you become happy. You might also get a little sleepy, right? So food does affect your mood, and most people understand that just by saying it. But to prove it, that's a more difficult thing. So here's what was shown. If we have a lot of sugar and bad fats, Dr. Margaret Morris at the University of Sydney showed that people tend to have an increased intake of these sugar and bad fats. They eat more, right? They are not as satisfied, okay? So they eat more to become satisfied, and they end up with a decrease in their memory, right? What she surmises is that this is because it triggers some inflammation, and the inflammation passes to the brain and affects the neurons. And as it crosses the blood-brain barrier, some of these cells, immune cells, then eat some of our damaged cells that could have survived, but they start being scavengers and eating other good cells in the brain. Not a good thing, okay? Sugar affects single nerve cells. It modifies the electrical activity, and by modifying the electrical activity of these cells, it can affect the entire network that might be involved. And of course, diet affects decisions and thoughts, depending upon what you have for breakfast and how long you go between breakfast and the time you're making a decision. It'll make a difference. And this was elegantly shown in one study, looking at an alteration in the amount of protein and the amount of carb and the amount of fat in the diet. It affected the amount of tyrosine, and the tyrosine affected the amount of dopamine, and therefore the individuals had a different way of thinking. So imagine your thoughts and the decisions that you're making, even this evening, may have been affected by the last meal that you had. Because if we're going to eat 3 or 4 times a day, some people do that. I usually eat twice a day, but people who are eating 3 or 4 times a day, they are getting a load of things that will alter the way they're thinking during the course of the day. So keep that in mind. And then, of course, there's this vicious cycle of feast foods. We look at the visual cues for sugar and fat, and if we ingest these things, then we become hypervigilant. And whenever we see something like this, we feel like we have to have it. And when we have it, it doesn't give us the same satisfaction. So we end up eating more. You know what I'm talking about. You see the ice cream, you think you want to have the ice cream, and a little bit of ice cream doesn't satisfy you anymore. You want the big tub, you want 5 scoops or whatever it is, and you want all the sprinkles and all these things on it in order to satisfy you. Whereas, you know, a few years ago, maybe 1 little scoop would have done the job. So sugary and fatty foods in humans actually are not good. They affect our inflammatory response, and of course, the inflammatory response is very necessary to stave off disease, including viruses like COVID virus. And it alters the immune system. And with just 4 days on the Western diet, it affects the cognitive function of the hippocampus, that part of the brain that has to do with learning. But there's something more that was discovered first with flies, and it's this. Flies eat more and more frequently depending upon the deficiencies that they have. So if a fly is deficient in something, it will choose foods to land on and to salivate over and to eat, depending on its deficiency. But overriding that, there's something that goes on. If they have certain bacteria in their gastrointestinal tract, it will cause the flies to override their desire to eat the things with deficiency. They will desire to eat the things that will satisfy that bacteria. And we believe that this also is happening in human beings. What we eat, John Cryan at Cork University in Ireland was talking about that. Anxious animals, they eat certain things. You take the bacteria from their gut and you put it in animals that are not anxious, and those animals become anxious as well. Okay, so you do a transplant of the gut bacteria, and you can actually transplant mood, you can transplant ways of doing things. Okay, so the diet affects the gut microbiome, and the gut microbiome affects the brain. And then your brain, since your brain is what gives you the decision on your diet, the brain then determines what diet you're going to have. So we have a cycle here that we can interrupt by, if you listen to what we're saying today, you hear what is being talked about, you can make a decision to do something that's different. And by interrupting that cycle, you have hope, as I have hope. Okay, so first, avoid deficiencies. All the way from preconception on vitamin B3, niacin, vitamin B6, vitamin B12, all of the B vitamins, omega-3 fatty acids, and minerals. Avoid these things, not just because of the cause of nutritional diseases per se, but also because they will affect how the brain is going to function. Second thing is to have balanced, non-processed meals. Look at the amount of sugar that you're doing, and please reduce or eliminate all of these added sugars. And there's hidden sugar in the things that we eat on a regular basis. And of course, when we do that, we need to see that a diet that is good for the mood is also, it means that a diet is suitable for the microbes in our gut. If we change the microbiome, we change the mental state, and the way we change the microbiome is by choosing to eat fruits, grains, vegetables, legumes, nuts, and seeds. And last of all is diets that are high in diverse plant foods, leafy vegetables, a variety of colors, legumes, nuts, seeds, olives, avocado, and selected spices. These things cause more diversity of the bacteria in the gut, and it's the bacteria become more selective. They alter the brain's neurochemistry and the ability of the brain to take on new functions. And it also improves the brain health and the mental health. So now, may the God of Shalom set you aside for his holy purpose. It will bring him glory when you grow spiritually, when you grow in physical health, and when you grow in mental health. So my question is, why not commit to him today? I wish you shalom.
We want to thank Dr. Charles-Marcel for being with us tonight. Great message. Sister Lillian, what do we have next?
Our next section is a conversation with the doctor, and we'll have Dr. Chang Brown joining us for this section.
So join us as we go to the Q&A.
Good evening, and welcome to you, our viewers, on the various social media platforms from around the world or right here in the United States of America. We welcome you this evening to Health Turbine, powering the drive to impact healthy lifestyle choices. With me this evening are two ladies, Dawn Brule and Tarsha Badwa. Each of these women has been impacted, whether directly or indirectly, by breast cancer. I'm Dr. Marlene Chang Brown. Please stay with us as we hear more from these ladies. In the year 2021, it is estimated that over 280,000 new cases of breast cancer will be diagnosed in women. This is invasive breast cancer, and 50,000 more will be discovered, which are very early stage or non-invasive. Breast cancer doesn't only occur in women. Breast cancer may also be found in men, although it is very rare in the male population. The news that one has been diagnosed with breast cancer is not only difficult for the individual, but that state of alarm also transfers over to the family. Tarsha, I understand that your mother was diagnosed with late-stage breast cancer. That must have been very difficult for her and also for the family. How did she let the family know of this diagnosis?
Well, my immediate response was, I was very shocked. I didn't, know what was happening or what, to expect when she told me. But I was away, and I went back home to Jamaica, and that's when she told me, and that was a feeling of shock. I just felt shocked.
I understand that your mother was diagnosed with advanced breast cancer. That must have been very difficult for you and the rest of your family. Do you recall how she related the diagnosis to you and what your immediate response was?
The way that I thought that I, was there to support her was going back home to see her and to be with her through her surgery, and as a moral support for her as well.
Dawn, tell us a little about your journey. When and how were you diagnosed? How did you find out that you had this condition that so many women fear? Is there anyone else in your family with this diagnosis?
Well, I had a lumpectomy when I was around 18 years old, and it was benign. And then I forgot about it, and in my 40s, it was suggested that I started to do regular checkups because of that. And what I went into for a regular mammogram, thinking nothing was wrong, and then I was told that there was some inconsistency with my mammogram, and then I was told I had cancer. It was a shock to the system because I thought I had already had enough on my plate with other issues in my health, but the Lord brought me through. And I think I have an aunt who has breast cancer on my father's side.
Tarsha, in what way were you able to support your mother, and what was the part of that support that she appreciated the most?
The way that I thought that I, was there to support her was going back home to see her and to be with her through her surgery, and as a moral support for her as well.
Dawn, was there anything else that you were battling at that time which made this particularly stressful for you? What was the most difficult part of your journey, and how did you overcome it? What were your greatest fears and anxieties?
Yes, I have a condition called Chiari malformation, which is basically my brain is too large for my skull, and it was protruding on my spine. So in 2008, I had a brain surgery, and 2009, I had a second brain surgery, and that left me with 80% of the nerve function in my right arm compromised and 50% on the left. And I have pain 24/7. And so I was dealing with a lot. So I thought I had enough, but God never gives us more than we can bear. And so I had to go through this process.
Tarsha, what would you say sustained her throughout her illness, your mom, until she finally passed away?
I tell you, her faith. Her faith sustained her. Reading her Bible every day, praying, sustained her, yes.
Dawn, is there something you wish you had known or had done before you were diagnosed? And how has your life changed since the diagnosis? Let me share with you the words of Joseph Campbell. You have to be willing to give up the life you planned and instead greet the life that is waiting for you. What's your response?
Yes, I since the diagnosis, I've been on a plant-based diet, and that's because of my two nephews in Maryland. They were already on a journey to be plant-based, having a plant-based diet, and I think that helped me to. Last December, I had another mammogram, and it was clear, and I've been cancer-free for around 5 years.
Your mother seems to have been a brave woman of faith, and I'm sure that her bravery is something that you aspire to have. How are you working towards developing a strong faith, as strong a faith as hers?
Well, I would say by remembering what she taught me, reading my Bible and praying as well, trying to get into the motion of praying more often and to emulate her what she taught me.
Thank you both for sharing. I'm sure that you have brought some encouragement to someone who is in similar circumstances. In the words of the psalmist found in Psalm 46, verse 1, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. My prayer is that you will both continue to experience healing, both physically and emotionally.
Good evening. You can see that we are both wearing pink outfits, and we have pink ribbons on our white coats. As some of you may know, pink is the color for breast cancer. Over the next few minutes, we're going to give you a bit more insight into this disease. We have a few questions that we're going to attempt to answer for you, our audience. And if you have any questions that you would like answered, you can put them in the comment section of Facebook, and we will do our best to answer those questions at a later time. We shall now move on to our questions. Dr. Brown, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. What is breast cancer?
Breast cancer, just like any other cancer, I would say, is an abnormal proliferation of cells. And because that's in the breast, it's breast cancer. If that proliferation had taken place in the prostate, then we would have called it prostate cancer, or it could have been colon cancer.
And how does breast cancer form?
Well, any type of cancer forms basically in the same way. The cells all contain genes, And these genes are made up of DNA, the DNA of our cells. Now, the genes are like the law of the cells, telling the cells what to do. Some of the genes are proto-oncogenes. These genes help the cells to reproduce normally. And if there are too many of these cells, or if there is a mutation, a change in them, then there can be abnormalities in the production of the cells that just keep going on and on and on. It's like putting your foot on the gas pedal and you just can't stop the car from running. Then there are other cells which are suppressor genes, other genes which are suppressor genes. And these suppressor genes, they're supposed to repair DNA. They're supposed to tell the cells when it is time to die, and they're supposed to slow down proliferation of cells. Again, if there's a mutation in these genes, then this process is not fulfilled, and it's as though you have your foot on the brakes, but the brake is not working. And so those cells continue to proliferate and form cancer.
Right. What are the genes that are associated with breast cancer, and do all women have these genes?
The two main genes that we speak about when we discuss breast cancer are the BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes. BRCA meaning breast cancer 1, breast cancer 2 genes. These genes are by no way found in the majority of women who have breast cancer. These genes are found in as little as 5%, and some people say as low as even 1.09% of women who have breast cancer, a breast cancer diagnosis.
Wow, that's pretty low.
Pretty low.
Yes. What are the signs and symptoms that women should be on the lookout for?
In my experience, and I guess in the experience of all the clinicians, what we have seen most commonly is that a woman presents with a lump in the breast. They feel something hard, a little knot there, and they come in to have that evaluated. So I would say that's the number one symptom. But there are other things that women should be on the lookout for. Just maybe asymmetry of the breast, standing and looking in the mirror with the arms on the hips or behind the head. Look at the breasts and see how they match up with one another. If one is a little lower or it's a little larger, or it doesn't something just doesn't look right, get it checked out. There may be something going on there. The nipples, usually they point forward, but if you notice that there is one that's starting to turn inward, that may be important. Have that checked out also. The skin around the nipples may get flaky. The skin, any part of the breast may develop an orange peel appearance. We call it peau de rein, where the skin is indurated or hard and the pores are very, very prominent. So you see all those little dots there. That's important. You may feel a lump under the armpit. You may not feel it in the actual breast in front. Remember, the breast, as we said, it extends into the axilla, into the armpit. So a portion of the breast tissue is there. And also, sometimes cancer doesn't just stay in the breast. It may move into areas in the armpit called lymph nodes, and you may be able to find something there. Lastly, some women develop discomfort or pain, and sometimes also a nipple discharge may be one of the symptoms that they encounter.
So lots of different things that women can look out for. Mm-hmm. And what are the risk factors associated with breast cancer?
I would say the greatest risk factor is age, and that's not modifiable. Turning 50, and I'm past there, is not always the most pleasant thing, because a lot of diseases are more prominent and more common after age 50. So that's one. Age, which we can't do much about. Family history, we heard Dawn, she said that she had an aunt with breast cancer. Now, when we speak of family history, we're considering the first degree relatives. So a mother, a daughter, or a sister. Your cousin's cancer, your aunt's cancer, your grandmother's cancer shouldn't really impact you, because that's 2 generations away. But the first generation relatives, those are the ones that may put you at risk. Women who have had previous breast cancer are at risk to develop breast cancer again. Then those who have been exposed to estrogen, whether from hormone replacement or even women early in life who take oral contraceptives may be at increased risk. Those who had early menarche, so they started their menstrual cycle early, and those who ended late, so their body has been exposed to a longer period of estrogen exposure, those people are at increased risk for breast cancer. Increased body weight, so if you're obese, that's one risk factor. Alcohol intake, prior radiation to the chest area, all these may predispose to the development of breast cancer.
Okay. And what are some screening tools that can be utilized to assess for breast cancer?
By and large, the main one which we use, which we all know of, is mammography. Yet, many women are not getting the screening tests done as they should. Apart from mammography, there is MRI of the breast and also 3D tomosynthesis. These are the main screening modalities. Some women say, oh, I'm not going to have my mammogram because it's too painful. I just want an ultrasound of the breast. Whereas ultrasound may be an adjunct to mammography, ultrasound is by no means considered a screening test, an adequate screening test by any of the medical societies.
I see. All right. Well, do you have any other last words that you would like to share?
Yes. I think of breast cancer and any cancer as a form of sin, or let me put it another way. I would compare breast cancer or any other form of cancer to sin. It is something that you might not even expect. It comes into your life insidiously. It creeps in. And then if you're not aware of it, it may overtake your life. So my advice is that we follow all the health principles that we are privy to. We heard a lot of them tonight from Dr. Zeno Charles-Marcel. Let's take heed. And let us follow all the screening guidelines so that, did we mention screening?
Yes, we did.
Oh, we didn't tell the ages. Oh,
let's talk about that.
Oh, this is something.
Yes.
How could we forget? So screening, all the medical societies, including the American Cancer Society, the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, etc., they see a definite need for mammography starting at age 50 in an average risk woman. Now, for women younger than 50, screening may begin at age 40 or age 45. You each have to discuss with your own practitioner when your screening should start. That's for the average risk woman. For women who have risk factors, such as a positive family history, those who are genetically inclined to have breast cancer, all those women need to begin screening at an earlier age. And if there is someone in your family who developed breast cancer, say at age 40, and that's a first-degree relative of yours, your mom, your sister, your daughter, you need to start at least 5 years before is when the recommended time is for you to begin your screening. So it's a bit complicated, but as long as you're aware that you need screening and you seek advice, you will be screened at the right time. And hopefully you'll be able to detect your cancer early. If you're not able to prevent it, we try prevention, but we're living in an imperfect world, a world of sin. So as much as we try, there is something that's going to break through. If we develop the cancer and we diagnose it early, then chances are that we will be survivors, we'll be overcomers in the biblical sense. So my advice, follow the screening guidelines, take care of yourselves, follow all the health principles. In so doing, we hopefully will decrease the incidence of breast cancer, that's the number of new cases diagnosed, and we'll also be able to decrease the death rate from breast cancer.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that information. I'm sure it was very insightful for a lot of individuals. We appreciate that very much. This is
Health Turbine.
powering the drive to impact wholesome lifestyle choices.
We thank you for watching and joining us this evening.
At this time, I'm going to invite everybody to close with a small prayer. Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord. We thank you because you want us to have good, healthy bodies. So please, Lord, bless the messages that we have heard, and Lord, bless us now as we will go on in life practicing this lifestyle. We want to ask everything in Jesus' name. Amen.
We'll see you tomorrow.